live on YouTube. I almost said Facebook, but can't figure out why Facebook doesn't want to cooperate with us. But we are live on YouTube nonetheless here. So make sure while you're tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well so you don't miss when we go live. With the summer being the way it is and everybody gotten unpredictable schedules, going to try and to enjoy the nice weather when we have the opportunity. Our schedules may be a little bit off kiltered and kind of basing it right now, especially with the NBA finals going on, trying to get run a show around that. Schedules might get moved around here, but nonetheless, we are coming to you as normal on a Wednesday, June 4th. It is my sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Macy. Also found out that it is Global Running Day. Now, that does check out that my sister's birthday is on Global Running Day. Miss Marathoner herself. So didn't realize it until I got the email from Shields yesterday that said that, or today that says, "Oh, it is Global Running Day," and I was like, "Huh. Well, that does make a lot of sense."
What were they trying to
Here,
do? Get you to buy a new pair of shoes?
they might, they might, but we've got a decent list of things to talk to here. We got the NBA Finals preview. The Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau yesterday. We got Scotty Scheffler blew away the competition on Sunday at the Memorial Tournament. I don't know if you saw that, Grant. And we got OTAs wrapping up here. But now, Grant, we'll start here with the gist of the show, the NBA Finals preview. And
Mm-hmm.
this is I feel like these games have the potential to where it could be a very tightly contested. I think both teams have deep benches. I think OKC's bench is just a little better. The thing that worries me for Indiana is that Indiana does like to play at a fast pace, but so do the Thunder, and they just seem like they are so much more in control and in depth here of what they want to do, and they are one of those teams that they don't turn the ball over. Something that Indiana uh, can be known to do at times here. But I'm gonna let you talk for a little bit. I I gotta run somewhere.
No, that sounds good, Dylan. I think to your point, this I think is going to be a highly entertaining series. A lot like last year's Eastern Conference Final between Boston and Indiana, where I think it's gonna come down. It's going to be a fourth quarter game. It's going to be back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana comes out from the jump in every single game and get a big lead. Well, maybe not a big lead, but they come out, they get ahead, and they're ready. They're ready to attack. They're not going to be afraid of the moment. This Indiana team, just with especially with Rick Carlisle, being there, winning that championship that in 2011 with Dallas. Indiana's going to come out. They're going to be ready to play. It's just, can they hold that for 48 minutes, like they couldn't do last year in the Eastern Conference Finals? Like I said, I felt I feel like this series could be a lot like very intense, very close scoring. But can Indiana can they match the depth and the intensity that Oklahoma City has? Because Oklahoma City, uh, they're such a well-oiled machine. This team, they play so well together. They're extremely deep. And they can Indiana when you get tired, when you have foul trouble, when it comes to those nut cutting moments there in the fourth quarter, can they make plays? Can they hold leads, unlike they couldn't do last year against Boston? And last year against Boston, when the Celtics needed it, Tatum and Jaylen Brown came to play. There was a difference in that series. Can they get a stop on SJ? Can they stop Jaden Williams? Can they not let Chet Holmgren be a beast on the offensive glass? Number 55, I'm drawing a blank in his name. Can they not let him get 10 easy points from alley oops and from dunks? In this series that gets that Oklahoma City crowd going. Indiana's, if you ask me, they're going to need a lot to go their way uh, to win and stay competitive in this series. But I think they can. Like I said, they're with Rick Carlisle, how deep their bench is, and how fast they want to play. I think they can get out in transition and they can get some points. So it'll be a fun series, and it's exciting that we're going to have a first time champion. When I say that, like one of your first true superstars, whether it's Halliburton or SGA, I understand Pascal Siakam. In Indiana, he won that title with Toronto in 2019, and I think that will be a factor because you never know how a team is going to react you're in that championship series. When it is true, do or die. You need to win 4 games out of the next 7 to have the ultimate goal. We saw last year in the Western Conference Finals, Dallas looked great against the Wolves, and then when it came to the NBA Finals playing Boston, they kind of fell apart just a little bit. So that championship series, that's such a different level of intensity and passion. You don't know how you're going to react, and I think Siakam and Carlisle gives Indiana not that championship experience where they can let them know, like, hey, you know what, it is just another basketball game, and when it comes down to making a play in the fourth quarter, Pascal can say, in Toronto we did this, and Carlisle was like, these are the adjustments we made in 2011. So those are 2 things, that championship experience that Indiana has, that I think can help make them keep it closer in this series.
Yeah, I was listening to what I pulled it up on YouTube to hear what you were saying, and like to kind of piggyback off the end of it is the Carlisle the matchup, the head coaching matchup. Does the coach for the Thunder, who's I don't even know his name. You don't hardly ever hear his name, but does he get a tight butthole coaching in his first NBA Finals game? Carlisle has been there. He coached in one he's 1-0 in the one NBA Finals that he has coached in. What the tricks does he have up his sleeve to really kind of that Oklahoma City isn't ready for? I mean, we've seen him in a finals where it was like on paper where he was severely overmatched and he outcoached and got his star players to outplay the Heat star players back in 11. What tricks does he have up his sleeve?
Was he the Indiana coach when they went to the finals in like 2003 or something like that, or was he just there after that?
I think he was there after that. Let me see here. Rick Carlisle. He was actually the Pistons head coach from 2001 to 2003. That was where he got his start. And then from 2003 to 2007. So
he would have just missed it.
Yeah, part of me wants to say Larry Bird was the head coach when they
played.
Bird
was the coach of that Pistons team that won the title.
No, you're thinking Larry Brown.
Oh, Larry Brown. Sorry, yes, that's Larry Brown. Excuse me.
Let's see here. So from 97 to 2000, Larry Bird was the head coach. So who would have been?
That's when MJ. They're facing MJ.
Yep, because you got that from the documentary, the Last Dance documentary, where they go and shake hands. Let's see here. 2003, 2004. We'll go back 1 year. Oh, Isaiah Thomas was the Pistons head coach in 2002-03.
Okay.
And then the year before, he was at 2001, 2002, and 2000. So It was. Oh no. What year did they? I'm trying to think.
Wasn't it
Was it
2000?
99 2000? It was 99 2000. Larry Bird was the head
Yeah.
coach then the last time that they played.
Okay.
So he did coach in an NBA finals here and again lost to the Lakers. But
he's good at that.
He is. He is. I believe 1-2 against the Lakers in the finals. I think they only met twice or 3 times because they won the first and then they lost the next 2. Yep. But I think Halliburton can get hot, and I think he has the ability to steal a game. Games probably 2 or 3. I think he could get hot and steal a game there, but I don't think he's going to have the firepower enough. I think you're going to need to get that Halliburton that you saw in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But he also, you can see some of the moments as to why some of the players considered him overrated, where he does kind of disappear in some of these in certain spots here. You can't have him disappearing in these NBA Finals. Also, a really good storyline is 2 guys that were traded away from their original teams that were 2 teams that traded away. They were traded away from SGA, the Clippers, and Halliburton, the Kings, and a little bit of a resurgence or a revenge tour. You guys are idiots for trading me opportunity here. But prediction wise,
I also think, Dylan, I think 2 players for the Pacers that are going to have big series for them: Miles Turner and then McCollum.
Yes.
Coming off the bench. If those guys can't, call me crazy, they both might have to average 17, or one is going to have to average 17 to really.
Turner, I think, needs to average a double-double.
Yeah.
I'll say
Turner, if he can go 17 and 11, the Pacers have a chance. Because then if Siakam can get you his 23, and if Halliburton can get you 28, if you can get 17 out of Turner, there's a chance.
Yep. But let's get to predictions here, Grant. Who do you who wins this series and in how many games?
I like Oklahoma City, and I like Oklahoma City in 6.
Oklahoma City in 6. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Oklahoma City in this series as well, but I got OKC in 5. I think Halliburton's going to steal game 2 or game 3. I think game 3 might be the one where they come back to Indiana. It's where you saw the Thunder struggle a little bit in all of their series, where they came out a little bit flat that first game on the road. But I think in historical context, this is actually like one of the best teams of all time. They won 68 games throughout the year, and their advanced metrics and advanced stats all proves that this is a historically great team, and they've been the best team in the NBA all year. I think that's going to show in the NBA Finals.
God, what was Bill Simmons? He was talking on his podcast. He was sharing a stat for Oklahoma City. Could they get to? Was it 84 wins, 87 wins on the year? It'd
be 84
or 84. It was something crazy where it matches like the 96 Bulls, the 17 Warriors. Was it one of those Lakers teams, or historically great teams that if you add in the regular season wins and the 16 wins in the postseason, you're like, this on paper, to your point, yeah, Dylan, one of the best teams of all time. Just based off of wins.
Yeah.
And it's sad because this team was in Oklahoma City. Had they been 4 hours south in Dallas, we would know so much more about this team. And they would be on TNT and they would be on ESPN every week, once a week. But it's in Oklahoma City and the NBA doesn't care about them. And now we're finally seeing how good they truly are.
Yeah. And I did see Adam Silver's comments today talking about how when about this being potentially low ratings because something to do with being a small market team, but there wasn't an issue when it was nobody had issues when NFL small market teams Pittsburgh and Green Bay matched up in the Super Bowl, which is completely apples and oranges comparison. Those two teams are the two of the like landmark franchises of the NFL, or close to.
They're honestly, if you ask me, they're two of the top three, with Dallas being the other team. I mean,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh has 6 Super Bowl as a franchise. 6 Super Bowls. Green Bay has 4. You ask all their fans.
Whoa, Grant.
Ask about.
This is the Green Bay Packers. Okay, all right.
Let me finish. Yes, they have. Sure, they have 4 Super Bowls. They haven't won one since Obama's first term, with 35 years of the best quarterback play. In these last.
I call it quarterback
years.
bliss.
Quarterback bliss, but we cannot forget about their 9 world championships before that.
Where there were 4 teams.
There are 13 NFL world championships. And if you ask them, the tush push, you know why they're banning the tush push? It has nothing to do with Matt LaFleur being a softie and a white guy having to get his haircut done once a week. Matt, you're not that guy. It comes down to Jalen Hurts in the Eagles. People, they forget about the Ice Bowl and the QB sneak that Bart Starr had to win that game in the 60s. This is just jealousy, which comes down to Packers fans, again, watching the History Channel, because they can't talk about their current team. They got to talk about stuff in the past. Their QB sneak is not as good as the Eagles, and they're jealous, so they're trying to ban it. And it's not as iconic.
Yep. That is it. It's taking away their thunder, because that was probably the most famous QB sneak, but now the Eagles tush push has incorporated it here. But the moving on here, it was announced yesterday that the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. That was a you mentioned Bill Simmons earlier. That was a Bill Simmons when Anthony Bennett was drafted. Whoa. When I saw that notification come across on my phone, I was like, no, they didn't. But they did. And the Knicks, they went full Knicks here. I don't understand it. Some of the things that I've heard or read was things of the players didn't understand their roles, and that's probably the one that I'm going to focus on the most here, because that doesn't make any sense to me, because I've seen teams who have played and didn't have defined roles. And this Knicks team was talented, but this is not like a 2012 Heat team. This is not any of those historically great teams that we were just talking about, like the 96 Bulls. They were none of those teams. Thibodeau is the only reason this team was I keep coming back to a tweet I saw of that players who said that they didn't understand the role is just a code word for they're not happy with their role. And the idea that Tom Thibodeau was the problem, which if we're going to turn on the History Channel here, that Thibodeau won 12 games in these NBA, or it was 10 games. They won 10 games in this year's NBA playoffs. Prior to their 12 wins that they had when they made it to the finals in 1999, do you know how many wins they had in between that from 99 to now, Grant?
4.
9.
9. Whew.
So that is that pretty much sums up the Knicks, and you can tell that James Dolan is back running the team.
I was just saying, is James Dolan back? He got the Sphere all figured out in Las Vegas. That's up. He comes back. He sees his team wins 51 games in the regular season. It's good. It's not great. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's like, nope, we're better than this. We're the New York Knicks. We need to fire a head coach. Update for the New York Knicks. They are not a historically good franchise in terms of basketball. When your last championship is in 1973, don't come at me and say you're one of the pillars of the NBA. You're a garbage franchise. And just because you live in New York and you play in Madison Square Garden and it's the holy grail of basketball, you don't get to be good by association. So this is just a dysfunctionally bad run franchise who doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, the other part of it too is like the thing about it is like the Knicks are like the black sheep of the NBA, where they are the only team that doesn't have like an exit interview with the media, where like the owner, the GM, well, they'll sit down, answer questions, talk about their plans going forward, reflect on the year before. The Knicks are the only team that don't do that. So normally they would have a press conference discussing as to why they let Tom Thibodeau go, but they're the Knicks, so they aren't gonna. And
in the media capital of the world,
yeah,
New York City, and they can't have an exit interview.
This is Tom Thibodeau, who is a defensive mastermind. I was listening. Ryan Russillo was on Pardon My Take today. Talked about how Tom Thibodeau is like the most football basketball guy. I mean, this guy was about to be married, and 6 weeks before the marriage, he called it off and said that he's married to basketball. His mom wasn't happy. This guy has dedicated his life to basketball, and I mean, his two best players had minimal interest in playing defense. It seemed like even those said players, Jalen Brunson for sure, when he was asked after they lost to the Pacers in Game 6, when they asked the question, they looked at him like he was stupid, or Brunson looked at him like he was stupid. What type of question is this? Like, no, Tibbs is our guy. And they go and fire him. And I'm still going to be very curious as to who they go after, because Mike Malone would be a good hire because he grew up there. His dad grew up around the Knicks, but he kind of also has the same knock that Thibodeau had, where he didn't want to play the young guys. He relied on those older guys. And the big thing with Thibodeau was he didn't want to play the bench, something Mike Malone didn't want to do. And it's not that far off, Grant, if you remember back in 23, when the Nuggets won the NBA championship, they basically only played with 8 guys.
They played 8 guys.
It's not like, these two teams in the Pacers Thunder are outliers. Most of the time, you're not going to go deeper than 8 in the NBA playoffs. Occasionally, you're going to get a couple of guys, you kind of saw in those early games of the series, where it's like just giving guys after those long, grueling 7-game series that happened like with the Warriors, where, a lacrosse player was playing for the Warriors and giving them good minutes. Mike Malone, it's going to be the same, but it's just a matter of finding 3 really good bench guys. And the Knicks do not have.
I'll also say this, Dylan, to your point, they don't have that because they gave up 6 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. They traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. Brunson has his mega deal. You can't win like that in the playoffs. You know why? Because these guys get tired. You could just tell this Knicks team was physically exhausted towards the end of the Indiana series. In Indiana, look what you said, Dylan. They go 10 deep. And you know what? They looked great. They looked refreshed. They had legs. They weren't missing their threes. They weren't hitting the front of the rim. So this is a roster problem in New York, not a coaching problem. Yes, Thibodeau apparently hasn't learned in his 3 stops as a head coach. You can't play only 8 players. He has to make that adjustment. But the front office for the New York Knicks has to build a deeper team. And I think to your point, Indiana and Oklahoma City are showing that, where if you want to go out and have a, quote, super team, essentially just two All Pros and an All Star like the Miami Heat had, that doesn't win in today's NBA anymore. You need to have true depth. Um, but back to your point, another coach I thought I'll be interested to see because I think he played for the Knicks is Mark Jackson.
Ooh, it could be.
Can he get back into that? And um, would James Dolan sit back and say, you know what, a former player, he is New York. He helped start to build that foundation in Golden State. Steve Kerr came in and kind of put the cherry on top, and they won all those championships. But what about Mark Jackson coming back out of TV to coach his New York Knicks?
It's potential. I've seen Dan Hurley's name possibly thrown around. I mean, a East Coast guy coaching for the Knicks. I interviewed for the Lakers, turned it down. Maybe this is a better fit for him. He feels more like an East Coast guy. I think you would have buy-in from the fans right away. The big question is how would he build a roster, and how he would handle coaching NBA players compared to college. But will be interesting here, Grant.
But if you're inheriting a Tom Thibodeau team, these players aren't going to be afraid to be coached.
No.
Thibodeau cannot be an easy guy to play for. And there's nothing wrong with being demanding in professional sports. You're the best of the best. The 15 players on the New York Knicks basketball roster are the top 0.001% of basketball players in the world. They should be coached hard.
Yes, and if you don't like it, you probably shouldn't be playing in the NBA. That's why you could go play for a team like the Sixers, or I don't know who's another soft team in the NBA.
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets, or any team James Harden is on.
Any team James Harden is on, correct.
I was going to say the Rockets, but then I realized he doesn't play for the Rockets anymore. So,
well, and since he moved on from Houston, he's also played for Brooklyn and now the Clippers.
Yeah. And the Sixers. Yes. Here. But curious to see. Now, Grant, I kind of just wrote some stuff down here, but I don't know if you watched the Memorial Tournament over the weekend. Scotty Scheffler won. Did you see the video of after he won and he went up to his wife and son? Wife hands him his son, and it tells him, well, just so you know, he had a blowout and his back is and you could just see the poop stain on the back, and he just goes, yeah, that'll happen. Just the typical dad of getting home from golfing with a young child, and it's like, wife just, he's your problem now, honey.
Yep, I've had him for the last 4 hours. He's yours. No,
I will say he is pretty calm for a 1-year-old out in the sun for 4 to 5 hours every day.
Mm-hmm. I do have to admit that I didn't see it live. I saw the video, and just seeing that blowout that kid had makes me sit back and think, why do people have children? It has to be the worst thing in the world.
I don't think it's that way. I think it's challenging but rewarding, and the best is the Jim Nantz call. Scheffler wins in a blowout. Just does not miss.
Only Jim Nantz could say that.
Only Jim Nantz.
And that's why Jim Nantz is the best in the business.
He is. We got the U.S. Open, actually. I just looked. That starts next week, which is kind of crazy to think about. Which Scheffler won the PGA. Has a chance. We could see a potential career Grand Slam. Potentially. We could also see it if Phil makes a run at it,
right?
Yes.
He just needs to, because he's won the PGA what, 2 or 3 times?
Yep. Never won a U.S. Open. But Phil ain't playing well enough that he's going to win.
No, he's not that guy anymore.
But I think right now the only ones that can do the Grand Slam, well, this year the only person who still has a shot to complete a Grand Slam would be Scheffler, but and then the Spieth would have been the PGA, but that didn't happen. So I'm excited. I think they're up in Canada this week. I think for the RBC Canadian Open up in Toronto, I saw. So I don't know who's playing there, but that's where they are this week. They're back in the U.S. next week. But Grant, moving on here. The OTA in the NFL, the OTAs are going on right now. Now, have you paid attention to any of the storylines going on from OTAs in any places?
Well, if you look at all the stat lines, every quarterback is throwing for 80% completion percentage. They're going to have no 50 touchdowns this year, 0 interceptions, and they look great. So I'm anticipating this year the NFL, actually after watching last year's Super Bowl and seeing how dominant the Eagles front seven is and how good these OTAs are, we're going to completely ditch the line of scrimmage in all of football.
Yes. Did you also see that Shedeur Sanders did not get any first team reps in OTAs?
I did not see that.
That is what I heard. I also Pete Prisco, I was listening to him the other day, and he was talking about how OTAs it used to be. And Pete Prisco, if you don't know him, he's a bit of a red ass, where he's your typical old guy in the media where things just make him mad, and charting NFL throws drives him insane. Had a whole rant about it, talking about how back in like the 90s, OTAs is where they would just try random things, and if they got intercepted, we can't try that. Now they're charting all these passes, counting about how many yards they throw. Like, what is this? There's no contact. It's all 7-on-7. Why are we tracking this, and why are we putting so much stock into it?
It's all premeditated, and the plays are designed to be successful.
Yes.
Like the offensive coaches want to build confidence going into their month-long break before training camp starts. They want to get their guys feeling good. Kevin O'Connell does not want J.J. McCarthy's head spinning because he's trying to figure out a Brian Flores defense in June. I wouldn't want any of my quarterbacks trying to figure out a Brian Flores defense in June, unless your name is Jared Goff, and that I'll never understand. Sorry, no, not even Jared Goff, because he couldn't do it in the Super Bowl 53. Ben
Greg
Johnson.
Williams.
I don't know what Ben Johnson did, or if he has Brian Flores' play card, or if he was straight up spygating this guy. But Ben Johnson has figured out Brian Flores like there's no tomorrow.
I think Connor Stallions was working for Ben Johnson is actually what I heard.
That
according to Ohio State fans, it's on Bucknut, so it's obviously true.
Of course, if I saw it on Bucknut on Facebook, of course it's true.
Yeah, just like they've been saying, the hammer's been going to be coming down on Michigan for the last 2 years. Still waiting. But
how could we forget that?
But the I don't really think I got a whole lot. Is there anything going on in the sports world that you need to get off your chest or discuss?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, I saw an article today, interesting, on Facebook. It said Aaron Judge, when the Yankees go on road trips, stays in his hotel out of fear of being recognized. Well, yeah, Aaron, you're 6'7", 260 pounds, and built like a brick shithouse. What do you expect? And you play for the New York Yankees. People are going to know who you are, even if you're not in a baseball uniform, because you're the MVP and you play for New York. No shit, Sherlock. Also, welcome to the social media world we live in. People are going to know who you are. They're going to want a picture with the MVP.
Can you imagine how wild some of those like if they were like some of those like parties in like the 90s 2000s, like if somebody had a camera for some of the things that went on in some of these places or some of those things
Oh,
professional athletes did, I mean,
oh God.
whoa.
I go back to The Last Dance. Dennis Rodman in Las Vegas with Carmen Electra.
Yeah.
I want to know what they saw in that hotel room. And I bet you there was a lot of lines of powder and razor blades on a clear glass table.
did did Dennis come back on time? He didn't come back on
No.
time. We had to go get his ass out of bed. And I ain't going to talk about what was in his room or what was in his bed, but we had to go get him out of bed.
And you know for a fact Carmen Electra was not the only woman in that room.
No, no. Oh man. But now I brought up speaking of Michael Jordan, well, a little bit of some sad news. The NBA on TNT inside the NBA did come to an end, unfortunately. Um, Ernie's final farewell I thought was really well done. You know, very dry or not a dry eye on that set. I think that was probably the best NBA show and probably the best in studio show. Even when there were like good in studio shows, like like the going back to like Baseball Tonight, NFL Live, like all those shows, they've really fallen off. But those guys, it was always top notch. It made watching the NBA just to hear what those guys would say, because it was all just raw, real reaction. There was no acting. There was nothing that was fake about it. They were all present, living in the moment, giving their true, honest reactions. Shaquille or Charles Barkley talking about how he loves being in San Antonio because the big women down there make him feel skinny.
Oh God.
And just going back on TikTok or seeing some of those best of the inside the NBA moments.
Racing Kenny to the big board.
Yep.
Kenny pushing Shaq into the Christmas tree.
Shaq going off set because I guess you could say I pulled a Shaq earlier in the show today.
Yes. Like also earlier, like when they tied Shaq's shoes together and he fell off his chair. Them just ripping Kenny for being part of a championship team but not doing anything. The guy who wasn't part of the group project but got an A. And then Kenny would always kind of come back and give Charles business because he never won a championship, but Charles wouldn't let it slide. It's just so many just different funny moments. And especially the one with Chuck when he's talking about when he's banging a guy. And Shaq is just like he can't contain himself. Like I look at that crew and then I look what ESPN has for broadcasting the NBA Finals, and I'm just like, what a drop off. It's awful. Like I don't want to listen to Stephen A. Smith and Bob Myers and Malika Andrews, whatever her name is. Sorry, no disrespect to those three. And whoever else they have on set, because there's a fourth. Kendrick Perkins. Oh, God. How could I forget the best center in Oklahoma City Thunder history? The missing piece to their championship tenure. Who, in the words of Kevin Durant, averaged 2 points a game, a series, on a playoff series they were eliminated in. But he was the missing piece.
But, Grant, the good news is you get to listen to Doris Burke.
My God, I hope she gets demoted.
When she was like the number 2 or number 3 like person on ESPN for NBA, she wasn't bad. But now that they promoted her, I don't want to listen to you. I mean, like
she's trying too hard.
Yes, and the worst.
We all know that was a 3-letter hire.
Oh yes. Yeah. What letters, Grant?
Oh, that would be DEI.
Oh, what's DEI?
A failing program in this country. That's what it is.
the I was thinking about this. You know, it would be a cat on chalkboard level bad
Oh no!
broadcast team.
Don't say it.
Do you know who I'm gonna say?
No, but I'm scared to listen to it.
Okay. Well, I'll let you guess, and I'll say whether I'm correct or you're
So, are we
correct or
saying
not.
announcer and play-by-play guy?
Yes.
This duo.
Yes, a potential duo, not like if they decided to pair them up.
Okay. And are these current ESPN employees?
I believe so. Yes.
Well, I made fun of him earlier, so I'll say Kendrick Perkins is the play-by-play.
Okay.
Or sorry, as the color. Gosh, I
Why
can't
are
even
you
think
saying
of a
he's the color? Kind of sounds racist of you, Grant.
well, that's what they call it in the industry. So I can't even think of a play-by-play person. So
You're
who do
wrong,
you?
by the way, but
Okay.
I'll just it would be Beth Mullins and Doris Burke.
Oh my God. I could never. I don't care if they moved Michigan, Ohio State to 11 a.m. on ESPN2. If they made them two an announcing group, I couldn't watch that game ever again. I would just have Beth
Oh,
Mullins nightmares with that 11 a.m. game on ESPN2 where you're still kind of napping after game day. I couldn't do it.
like nothing. There is nothing worse on a Saturday, than that 22-year-old Dylan Hurd when it was Rutgers and Iowa playing, and it's just Beth Mullins on the play-by-play.
And then some guy named Rocky's down on the sideline all amped up after doing a line of coke before the game. It's like they should not be together right now.
No, they shouldn't. No,
I mean,
but
I don't. It really makes you appreciate Ethan being a Gophers fan after all those Minnesota Northwestern's games he'd had to watch on ESPN2 at 11
listen
a.m.
to Beth Mullins
Oh
call
my
the game.
God. Yep, that's when you sit back and you're like, how can I be a Gopher fan and listen to all these awful broadcasters every single year?
Uh-huh. That's what we need to do. That's going to be our retirement is we start like a network where we have the games where we have the rights to broadcast games and we let the fans choose who they want to listen to. They can listen to the national broadcast, they can listen to the media of whoever it is of their choosing to listen to the game, and it will not be delayed. It's not like it's on simulcast or anything like that. It'll be like if the Vikings are playing the Bears, and I'm trying to think who our rough NFL broadcast group is.
You could do Sanchez and Sanchez isn't bad.
He's gotten a lot better from his first year. When he did that first game against first one I listened to where it was Vikings Seahawks, I was like, oh, he was struggling. Oh, I got a good one. It was Colt McCoy versus when Nebraska played Colorado, and I can't remember who the play-by-play guy was for it, but it was basically their B team.
Was it Burmeister?
It might have been, but yeah. Colt McCoy sounded like he was like stoned out of his mind, and that one was a rough one, and I can't even remember what we were talking about now.
There's bad announcers.
Yeah, and and I was listening to Chuck on the Dan Patrick show, and he talked about how they're still going to do Inside the NBA, but they're not going to be able to do highlights. They're not going to be able to do show anything live in the game. And he's like, well, I don't know how it's going to work because we're still doing we're going up against NBA games. But to be honest, I would much rather listen to them than watch some random NBA game on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, and what network are they going to be doing this on? HBO Max?
I think they're not doing it on TNT, but Chuck also has a contract with ESPN. But he
I
doesn't
guess
know like any of the details about it, so I'm not sure how it's all going to work. It doesn't sound like they have a plan, which sounds like real great business strategy to not pay somebody a bunch of money and is like, yeah, we don't really have a plan for you yet.
Well, that sounds like ESPN. Just throw a bunch of money at a personality, and we'll put something together.
Yeah, that does here, Grant. But we've got we're gonna wrap up this show here. We got curveball of the week here. I got it this week, and my question this week is, now I know everybody remembers though when you would have the matches, the golf matches on TV. What would be one that you would like to see? So like a pro and some celebrity, famous athlete versus pro golfer, celebrity athlete.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna go with some big guns here.
Okay.
I got two NBA players who I think are both really good golfers.
All right.
And I'm going with the classic Tiger and Phil.
Okay.
Okay. I want Phil Mickelson and Michael Jordan to go up against Tiger Woods and Steph Curry.
Okay. Ooh, that is a good one. That is a good one. Okay. Mm-hmm. I got mine. I would say it would be Tiger and Phil, the OGs of this. You need the originators. And the two GOATs of football and basketball. You got Tiger and Michael versus Phil and Tom. Now, Tiger, my logic was Tiger and MJ both were, while Tiger was Nike athletes, Brady an Under Armour guy, Phil, I think Callaway, but whatever. Yeah. But that I think that would be the one you'd like to see. And who knows? We're going to see a little bit more of Michael Jordan. I'm curious to see what NBC has planned for him or how much he's going to do with NBC. But I do feel like he did this as a bit of a tribute and a thank you because they did all of his NBA championships back when he was winning them all. Curious. I think it would be sweet to have him and Ahmad Rashad doing a show together.
Oh yeah, kind of bringing it back. Yeah. The reason I did mine, and I put Tiger and Phil or Tiger and MJ on separate teams, is because I just think the competitive juices of them going up against each other, even though Michael's not a pro, would be something to see. And then Steph and Phil's personality they're kind of the same. So you truly have an alpha on one team, and then you do have a beta on the other team. On the same team. But one is the professional golfer and one is not the professional golfer. But still Tiger and Phil, somewhat of a small rivalry there. And the greatest shooter of all time against the greatest basketball player of all time.
Yeah.
Might be kind of fun.
It would be. It would be. And since it's the NBA Finals, we'll wrap up with this, Grant. If you had to name your NBA all-time starting five, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. So not the one, we're going Magic.
Okay.
I just the ultimate facilitator. He doesn't care if he has 4 points a game or if he has 20. I'm going Magic. Michael at the 2. Easy choice.
No explanation needed.
No, just MJ at the 2. The 3, I'm going LeBron. He's just prime 2011 to 2018 LeBron is one of that was just absolutely crazy. What he did from when he was in Miami to Cleveland, that second stint, that may be not the most dominant, but the best 8-year run in basketball history, just at an individual player perspective. That was just stupid. At the 4, ooh, that's a good one. I need another selfless player who is going to be able to assist, rebounds, play defense. We got to go Tim Duncan.
Ooh, okay.
We're going to go Timmy at the 4. And then, do I go Hakeem or Shaq at the 5? Just utter dominance that Shaquille O'Neal was. You got to have Shaq at the 5.
Yeah, we're almost identical there, Grant. Point guard Magic. 2 guard, I'm going with Kobe. 3, I'm going with MJ. 4, I agree with you, Tim Duncan, greatest power forward ever. Mm-hmm. And 5, that one I debated between Shaq and Kareem, because Kareem probably has the greatest shot in the history of basketball, the skyhook, completely unblockable. But I never got to watch Kareem play, so I got to go with what I've seen. And I mean, we can't really talk because we never saw Magic or MJ really play, but their legend speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go with Shaq, because I mean, you look at the run he had from 2000 to 2003, winning those 3 Finals MVPs. It's hard to look at, not think of like the kind of the last center that had that dominating run for as a big man, where he was just completely just a bulldozer. That physicality in the middle, that toughness.
And can I be honest, Dylan? I miss when big men basketball were actual big men.
Uh-huh. We're slowly getting back. I mean, Jokic is a true big man.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even look at Dwight Howard for, our high school days. Like, I'm talking physically gifted, strong dudes.
Yes.
Like you look at Karl Malone in the 90s. Hakeem had some shoulders on him. Like, I'm talking big boys. But nowadays, it seems like we're just all 7'1" and skin and bones. There's nothing to them. I don't want to see Victor Wembanyama, a 7'4" skeleton. I don't want to see Chet Holmgren. I don't want to see soft ass Rudy Gobert. Get out of here.
You want a guy that's going to bang down low, as Chuck would say.
Just like Chuck
wants
said,
guys banging guys.
When you're banging a guy, just like Chuck said, yes.
All right. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll be back next week with our State of the NBA Finals. Grant, do you have an update on the Stanley Cup final? What is it? It was 2-1 when we started recording here. Does that score still stand?
It's 3-2 Panthers.
Oh.
And it's looking like this. It's 2 evenly matched teams, and it's going to go 6 or 7.
Okay. We could get a good one like we did last year.
I think so. These teams are just too good. And they're polar opposites. Florida is just a bunch of big, strong goons who want to beat the brakes off of you. And a lot of people don't like them because they're kind of nasty, and some people think they're dirty. And Edmonton, they're just a fast, athletic team who can go up and down the ice. So I think it's going 6 or 7.
Okay. All right. Well, make sure you are following us and subscribing on all of our socials, 3GTV Podcast. Make sure you like, rate, review, leave a comment. Help pushes our algorithm up towards the top. But until next week, we will talk to you later. Thank you.